What's going on, guys? It's O from Mount Confidence, and in today's video I want to talk about the school system and how it can actually destroy your self-esteem. The reason why I'm doing this video is to raise awareness, to let you guys know that the system that you're enrolling in can be very hazardous, can be very toxic to your personal development, to your self-image, to how you view yourself, which will, take a huge impact on your self-esteem and confidence. And I'm going to tell you what you can do in order for you to avoid these things so that you are able to get to the top of Mount Confidence. So I'm going to quickly talk about how school affected my self-esteem, and I'm going to share with you my experience in which should translate, or you probably will be able to relate to a few things in the story. So I was always an A student. Ever since I was a little kid, I was a nerd, I had social anxiety. All I really wanted to do is get good grades because that's what I was told. That's what my parents expected me. That's what the school expects you to do. And I was getting A's up until I moved to Canada. I moved to Canada when I was in grade 5, grade 5. And there was a language barrier. I didn't know how to speak English whatsoever. All I knew was to say yes and no. These are the only two words that I knew. So I was placed in ESL, which stands for English Secondary Language. And obviously you're isolated from all the kids because you have to learn English. You can't be in a regular classroom and attend the classes with other students because you won't understand the teacher. You won't understand what the hell's going on. So they would put you in a group and you would learn the language, and they would try to teach you some things that you're taking in classes through these techniques and ways to get across whatever it is that they're trying to get across to you. And so obviously the first few years my grades were crap. I was no longer getting A's, I was getting like B's and C's, and I'm talking middle school. So I go to high school, and now I know how to speak the language. Not fluently, but I know how to keep a conversation going. I know for the most part what the teacher's talking about. But because I was isolated and taken away from regular environment, that obviously affected my self-esteem because my results before, I was getting A's, I was getting like high 90s, 100, and all of a sudden I'm down to like 60s and 70s. And so in high school, I kind of lost some motivation. I lost interest because in the back of my head I was like, I can't be as smart as the other kids, I can't perform as good. And I always had these restrictions and doubts in my head because I would always come up with the same excuse, which is I don't know much English, so this is why I'm not doing well. So all these things, labels were new into my mind, and so they were controlling how I acted, how I viewed school. And my parents were very strict about my grades. They would always put me down. Even whenever I had a good grade in one certain subject, my mom would be supportive, but my dad would kind of be like, oh, why don't you get a 85 instead of a 70? There were always these expectations from my parents, from school itself. School is a system that judges a student's intelligence based on the grades that you get in class. So if you don't get good grades, a teacher views you as lazy, as someone that isn't intelligent. But the thing is, intelligence is not just academic performance. That's just one of many types of intelligence. You have if you're good at music, that's a sort of intelligence. You actually hear the music in your mind, no one else hears the music, and you produce the music. Same thing with painting. You see it, you visualize it. Many people don't have the skill that you do, and you produce this thing that you made real by producing it in a physical manner, whereas it's really deep inside. You're creating that image in your mind. You're almost like creating something that never existed but now exists in your mind, and you make it a reality by producing this amazing painting. There's health intelligence, body intelligence. There's people that are empaths like myself. There's so many different intelligence that a person carries, but in school we're taught that the intelligence or your grades will tell whether you're a smart kid or not, but it's further from the truth. Most entrepreneurs, most successful, rich people in the world have actually never even finished high school. You have a person that just has an entrepreneurial mind. I have a friend that was selling stuff when he was 8 years old. He was selling Yugo cards, which is, you know, and now he ends up in real estate. So it's crazy to just have this like idea that if you don't get good grades, then you're not smart and you won't make it in the world, because that's not true at all. If anything, people that make it in this world, people that are very successful in terms of materialistic wealth and different, you know, just applying themselves, being able to be disciplined and be able to endure pain that comes with life, are people that are intelligent. It's not the grades that you get. It's not if you know, get a 80 in math and 90 in science makes you a smartass. It doesn't. It just makes you a person that knows how the system works in school and knows how to study and prepare for a test. It's a skill, just like any other skill that's available. It's just like many other skills that are available. School is a system that kills the student's creativity because there's only one way of doing things. Think about it. If there is a problem, you're trying to solve the problem, there's usually one way of solving it. If you think outside the box and start, you know, thinking of it as a completely different entity, then you're not following the rules. School is a system which creates workers but does not create visionaries, because you're told growing up from your parents, from school, from your teachers, that good grades equals good job, and a good job equals happiness. Happiness does not come from what type of job you have, or how much money you're making, or what your grades are like. Happiness comes from expressing your true passion, something that you're born and placed on the earth to express, something that's here in your heart. If that's skiing, if that's painting, if that's being a bodybuilder, if that's being a teacher, if that's being a scientist, as long as it's coming from your heart and you're doing something that you're extremely passionate about, and not something that the school told you, get into this field because it's gonna make you happy and it's gonna cause you to be, you know, successful, and based on your personality and what you're good at, this is, you know, this is the type of field you should put yourself in, which is not, I mean, it's a decent approach, but it's very restricted because it picks these few fields, and it's like either you go here, here, or here. Why not take what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and do something that's new, create something that's new, create a field. School is a system that does not teach people how to cope up with problems, does not teach people how to raise their self-esteem, does not teach people how to do their taxes, does not teach people how to, it doesn't teach you shit about life. All it does is it teaches you these material that you're going to use when you become a worker. That's all it is. So, as you can see, it's very narrow, and it has a lot of things that it's missing, and it can cause your self-esteem to be destroyed, because if you're not doing something that you're passionate about, if grades is what defines your intelligence, obviously your self-esteem is going to be low, obviously your confidence is going to be low, because you're measuring up your happiness, your success, your ability to be a human being based on what kind of grades you're getting, and always being in a cycle that is promoted, that is told by schools to be always comparing yourself to others, comparing yourself to the smart kids. You know, why don't you be like him? He's a smart kid. Look what he's doing. He's working hard. He's, right? You're always comparing yourself to others. That causes you to even have lower self-esteem, lower confidence. You feel inadequate, and so where do you end up? You end up being a slave or a worker to a system that destroyed you the second you stepped your foot in it, or the second you enrolled in it, and it destroys you further after you graduate by becoming a worker and doing something that you don't like. Now, if you do end up doing something that you're very passionate about, kudos to you. That's amazing. But do realize that at some point, up until now, it played a huge role in lowering your self-esteem, because grades were everything. Passing a course is everything. If you failed a course, you're a failure. You don't belong there. You're not good enough. Yada yada yada. So now you can see my argument about school killing your self-esteem, and what should you do about it? Well, staying aware and conscious of these patterns that it creates in your mind, comparisons, seeing, you know, what kind of grades you got, and really measuring up, measuring your human beingness by these numbers that don't mean anything really. Guys, straight up, right? I'm in engineering. I'm in the last year of engineering, and I swear to you, I have not learned. I don't want to say I have not learned anything, but I just learned how to memorize. I learned how to memorize past midterms, and I learned how to end up passing the courses, right? It's something like engineering, which is just like, oh, like this is hard, no one can get into, which actually I disagree. I think everyone can get into and pass easily. It's just a matter of knowing how the system works. You don't need to be smart. You just need to kind of think outside the box and think of ways in which how you can pass a course, in which how you can live up to school's expectation. University has taught me about myself. University has taught me things I would have never learned if I didn't enroll in university, and it's because of the situations that I found myself in. It's because of the socializing, the meeting people, the learning about myself, learning about my fears, all these things. But as far as material, as far as assignments, as far as labs, as far as lectures, I barely learn anything. It just teaches you how to work, and it teaches you how to memorize things. Because guys, if you can memorize, if you can memorize for the most part, you'll get 80s, 90s. So that's a skill that, yes, school, you can argue that school does teach you, is to memorize things, and to and that's basically it. That's in my opinion. And so just continue to be aware of the expectations that are set by school, and not to get way into it, because it will cause you to think lower of yourself. I hope this video has been helpful, informative. If you guys want to see anything specific on this channel, let me know in the comment section below. Share this video with a friend if your friend is waiting to school and measuring his or her success by, you know, his grades or her grades. Just to kind of remind them that life is not school, right? Life is not a job. Life is much more than that. Life, I think, my definition of success is not by how much money you're making. It's not by what kind of job you have. It's by expressing this gift that you have, because everyone has a gift when they're born, finding out what that gift is, of course, and expressing it, and developing yourself mentally, psychologically, growing, facing your fears, bettering your health, creating your own expectations, creating your own system, creating your own culture, creating your own values. That's success. You know, that's happiness. Happiness is not measured by all these gains that the school system promises. Oh, signing out.